The Financial Survival Network, helping you to survive and thrive in the new economy. To find out where to buy gold and silver reliably at great prices, go get your free Financial Survival Toolkit at financialsurvivalnetwork.com. You'll also get our complimentary newsletter. This is the Financial Survival Network.
If you're like me, you're stuck in an IRA, a paper-based IRA, and you're not sure what to do with it. You're worried, you're losing faith in fiat currency, in governmental economic policies by the day. And then there's QE2, QE3, Operation Twist that keeps on twisting and turning. Fill in the blank. You want to hear my next guest. I'm with Tyler Gallagher, CEO of Regal Assets, large, well-known, reputable bullion dealer in the U.S., based out of California. Hey, Tyler, welcome to the Financial Survival Network.
Thank you for having me.
Great to have you on. And what's your take on the latest machinations of the Federal Reserve, Operation Twist 2?
Sure, yeah. Well, I'll tell you this. I think that, first off, it's alarming that for the first time, really in United States history, they're, printing money publicly. And I think what they're trying to do is do it under a veil or some term that people don't really know what's going on. So they got away in the beginning with quantitative easing, then they called it quantitative easing 2, and then everyone started to cue into what quantitative easing was. So they, kind of changed the name to Operation Twist. I mean, realistically, Operation Twist is quantitative easing. Maybe it's on a smaller scale, but it's still the same concept. You're selling these short-term bonds and you're buying long-term bonds. And, it's a the first one's a $400 billion program. And just recently, in the last couple days, they're extending Operation Twist till the end of the year. There's no question that under whatever veil it is, that the United States has to print money. And, everyone's waiting for this quantitative easing 3 to happen. And I got to tell you, it will not happen. I don't know why. I just feel in my gut quantitative easing 3 is not going to happen. Because if it does, I feel it's going to send, the markets soaring just from the name. I feel like they're going to do what quantitative easing 3 would be, but under a different veil, under a different name, under some sort of different strategy, Operation Geronimo, I don't know. But I just don't feel it's going to be quantitative easing 3 because everybody's waiting for QE3. In fact, the moment the Federal Reserve says QE3, you're going to see the markets in upheaval, just because of the branding quantitative easing has. So personally, I don't see quantitative easing 3 happening. I see it happening under the veil of, something like Operation Twist and so forth. So my thoughts on Operation Twist, it's nothing but a clever way of extending quantitative easing. You can call it quantitative easing 2.5, or even, with it extending to the end of the year, quantitative easing 3. We're printing money. We have to print money, and at this time, it's the only way to survive.
You know what this reminds me of, Tyler? The old Abbott and Costello routine, or maybe it was my brother who adapted it, where he'd go, you see this hand? You see this hand? And then he'd go slap me across the face with the other hand. He'd say, watch out for this one. So regardless of what they call it, the Fed is still buying up 61% as of last year of the federal debt. The deficit is doing nothing but going up, and there's not enough private investment dollars in the universe to finance the deficit. There really isn't a way out of this, is there?
Actually, I agree with you. I don't think that there is a way out of this. And in fact, I'll tell you this, we're all alarmed about this quantitative easing and, possible QE3 and this Operation Twist, when a lot of people don't realize that there's an even bigger issue. And that is the fact that all this noise going on in Europe, I've been following it from the beginning, and you'll notice that every time there's a bailout with Europe, it's the IMF. If you really look into the inner workings of the International Monetary Fund, it's always been majority U.S. funds. I mean, the thing's headquartered in Washington, D.C., so it's safe to say outside of quantitative easing, we're also bailing out the European Union. Maybe it's not all the IMF is all U.S. funds, but there's definitely a great majority in there. So quantitative easing is also happening internationally not quantitative easing, but the printing of money, creating money out of thin air, bailing out places like the European nations. So I think that there's just there's a major concern that we should all have with how fast the monetary system is being expanded. If it's not through quantitative easing, it's through the IMF. If it's not through the IMF, it's through some other realm. So I just don't think there's a solution. It's continue to do it until the ramifications set in.
Yeah, until the piper has to be paid. And I'll throw another one at you. At the height of the financial crisis in 08-09, the Fed just printed up $16 trillion out of thin air and gave it away to banks. What if part of the deal there was, we don't really want the money back, just buy the debt? Do you think that's possible too?
Well, everything has its breaking point. And I think what we're starting to see is that history is repeating itself. You know, we're not so genius to have thought of these solutions and these ideas. This has happened in the past, and this is nothing but a ploy to sort of distract from the real situation. And I think that countries like China are becoming very aware of what's going on, and they're becoming very sensitive to this situation. They're creating backup plans. They're planning for the United States and its monetary system to ultimately fail. And India's preparing. I mean, everyone globally with any sort of money, any country is preparing for it, because you can't do what we're doing and get away with it. It's going to catch up. It has to. It's a natural law that's unavoidable, I feel.
It really amounts to theft on a grand scale, far larger than any other group ever perpetrated in modern history. We look at the so-called robber barons of the late 1800s, and there's a debate whether they were in fact robbers or barons, but they were dealing with millions. Few million here, a few million there. We're dealing with trillions of dollars here on a global scale that affects every man, woman, and child. It affects you. It affects me. Everybody in the world. When this thing hits bottom, there isn't going to be safe harbor for anybody, is there?
No, I couldn't agree more. There will be no safe harbor. In fact, the reason that we're printing up so much money is based on this central banking model that was really put into existence here in the U.S. in 1913. After it was opposed many times, we've now promoted the ability for companies to be too big to fail. You've got JP Morgan, great example, AIG in early 2008. I mean, these guys are getting billions of dollars, and they were laughing at the whole thing. I mean, these guys were taking more vacations than they ever did. They were caught at the St. Regis. They were caught hunting. These guys that understand the game understand that even this money being given to them is a joke, because sooner or later it's all going to fall apart. That money being given them is not going to do anything, and they know it. That's why I feel AIG was out there hunting in St. Regis, because they're like, live it up, guys, because it's not going to be long before everything's restructured, and we're going to, even us are going to be in jeopardy, because, again, right now, this too big to fail situation, a lot's going to have to happen for us to even start to go down the road of solutions. So I have to say, when it really hits the fan, even these too big to fail don't have anywhere to hide. And the only thing that they maybe have is advanced knowledge of what's coming, and they're preparing accordingly, getting hard assets in their possession and so forth. I'm sure primarily gold and silver, and I'm sure in other capacity, I'm sure real estate in some sense, but hard assets more importantly. They're even getting out of the paper base, because they know even they're not immune from what's going to happen.
Absolutely. There was a survey done of top hedge fund managers, and 90% of them, and this was 2-3 years ago, were putting assets into gold for their own private savings account, if you will. And your reference there about them partying like it's 1999, it just reminds me of one of my favorite Australian movies, Breaker Morant. And at the end, he's about to be executed, and he says, live every day as if it would be your last, for one day you're sure to be right. And I think Wall Street is in that mode right now. And one of the problems that I personally have, and a number of you out there who have contacted me, is what do we do with this IRA, this 401k? It seems to be trapped. It's saying, help me, I've fallen, but I can't get out. What do we do about it, Tyler?
That's a terrific question, and I'll elaborate even more. What's really interesting is I feel that the biggest hoax that's been played on the public, especially on a financial level, is convincing people that paper is worth something, because it's not. And what's really interesting is if we specialize personally, Regal Assets, in people's retirement accounts and actually putting it into physical metals, And along that journey, there's this discovery that 99.9% of people's IRA or 401k in some capacity are exposed to paper. And if everything hits the fan, obviously that's going to become worthless. It's a very dire time to take this serious. I mean, if anyone remembers 2008, it was devastating. When September 2008 rolled around, people lost a great majority of their portfolios. And this is all paper-based exposure. 2009, the Dow dropped in May, 1,000 points in one trading day. There's no question that paper does not, the stability is not there any longer. And it's time to sort of protect yourself. So my huge suggestion, not just in your retirement account, but outside your retirement account, you got to minimize your exposure to paper assets on a grand scale. Currency, stocks, bonds, CDs, all this stuff, it's just not safe. So what I highly suggest is you have some type of hedge. To what percent that is, that's got to be something that, makes sense to you. But it's prudent in a regular economic environment outside of what we're going through to have 10 or 20% of your portfolio, your retirement account, in physical assets, something to hedge against a volatile stock market. And gold and silver historically are the ultimate asset to do that with. So I suggest highly to take some of those funds in your retirement account and put them into physical gold, physical silver. A lot of people don't realize this, but that paper form of gold and silver, it's not the same as having physical. We only suggest, I only advise people to hold the physical metal, gold, silver. Don't get a paper form of it. Don't get an ETF, because we don't even know how much metals they're holding to what is actually trading. When you get the physical, you actually know that you have it. It's in your possession. That goes a long way.
Well, that makes a lot of sense, Tyler. That's what I've been telling you for years now. Is there's no credibility left in the system. It's eroding by the day. The only thing honest about Ben Bernanke is his beard. Everything else that he spews is false. He just got up and told us, I was shocked that the economy isn't doing well, and he doesn't know when it will be doing well. And normally such a pronouncement would be a real positive for gold and silver, but they've been slammed lately. I don't know about you. You're in the business, but I don't see anybody who's actually looking to sell their gold and silver unless they absolutely have to.
No, I couldn't agree more. In fact, I'll tell you this. There's something about the world environment that we're in right now, especially on an economic level, and that is there's so much, because everything's tied to paper, it's so easy to manipulate things, even temporarily, the precious metals market space and place. And I got to tell you, I've been watching this aggressively for some time, and I have never seen something like what's going on today, because I'll tell you this. Last year, gold was sitting at 1,900. Silver was peaking out at 48. And let me tell you, from those heights, nothing is getting better. There's nothing going on. Osama bin Laden was killed, but that has nothing to do with how much money has been printed, and it's not going to solve any economic problems. So all I can think logically is that for the first time in a long time, big buyers, I'm talking central banks, I'm talking huge institutions, are entering the marketplace, and they're entering aggressively. And as aggressive as they're entering, they're smart guys. They don't want to buy at its 1900 peak. So what are they going to do? They're going to temporarily, in some form, manipulate the markets so that they can enter in at a reasonable price. And once they're done entering, you're going to see this stuff shoot off, because nothing is being solved. Nothing is changing out there. And let me tell you this. The stock market and gold don't go with each other. They're opposites. If the stock market's down, gold is up. It is a natural algorithm. So when we're seeing the stock market down and we're seeing gold down, someone's got to put on their logic cap and realize something's being manipulated. And I don't think that the stock market's the one being manipulated. I think it's precious metals, because how in the world can the stock market be down and precious metals? Doesn't make sense.
While the economy's been going down, I did help unemployment. I hired my assistant, Catherine, and I've got another part-time employee. So the employment scenario isn't all negative, but yeah, what you're saying is 100% true. Nothing has improved. Unemployment, the real unemployment rate, forget about the propagandistic numbers. The shadow stats number, over 20, getting close to 25%, which is what the actual unemployment rate is in Greece and getting there in Spain, and we've got 48 million people on food stamps. There is nothing hopeful here about this economy. I think what you're seeing now is that the wizard is being exposed. So you've got a limited amount of time to protect yourself, to plan for the eventual collapse. Tyler, if you want to learn more about what you're doing, about what Regal Assets can do, where should they go?
Here's what I suggest. One thing that we've really become keen on is people just understanding their options. I think in this day and age, in this bull marketplace, a lot of people are trying to just convince you to do something with them. What we do is a backwards approach where we want you to understand what's going on and understand why it's important and understand how this all works before you make any decision. And so what we've gone ahead and done, courtesy for everyone interested in something in this world, is we've created a very comprehensive, totally free investment kit. And in this kit, there is tons of value, including a sterling silver bookmark, all the questions you would have being answered, plenty of information from a booklet to there's a little pocket-sized comic book that you can follow and learn about 2008 to today, what's been going on. A lot of terrific information. It's completely free of charge to your front door, and all you got to do is visit www.regalassets, that's ASSETS.com, and you'll see the form right there. And what's very exciting is we're actually running a contest right now where anyone that requests a free investment kit is also entered into a draw to win a free silver American Eagle proof, which has about an $80 value. So not only are you getting this free, but hey, you may be that lucky winner that gets that Silver Eagle proof, and you can start building your precious metals collection.
All right, Tyler. Well, I am on the site right now, and I'm putting my name in. And if you have any say over who wins that Silver Eagle set, I am very available. Thanks for being on. We'll talk to you again soon, and good luck educating America. They need it.
Thank you so much. It's been an honor to be on your show, and thank you for the opportunity.